welcome to Radiance and Reality Coaching. I am one of your hosts, Joohong Lange, and then with me always is Kayla Winters. And today's topic is going to be essentially, you're speaking very clearly. So why aren't people getting it? Like, what is their problem? What's going on their
What's
end
their
that they just
problem?
can't understand what we're clearly communicating? So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today. And we're going to really dive into the gaps between what you mean and what the listener actually experiences in the conversation. And we're going to look at how intentions can drift mid conversation. So you might have gone into it with one intention and then completely missed it halfway through, or completely changed it, or your intention is the same, but your words are definitely not, or your tone is also not matching what your intention was set out to be in the first place. And we're going to talk about how your listeners will essentially just pick up on those shifts. And we're also going to give you some practical tools to keep your words, tone, and purpose aligned through this conversation today. And if you're here live with us, then you get to interact with us as we chat this. And then this will be posted on our podcast as well, and that Kayla has wonderfully and masterfully set up for us. And then, yeah, so the goal is that by the end of this, you will have some listener focused strategies and really understand how to check in with them, how to recenter yourself, how to check in with yourself as well, and make sure that your communication always feels as safe and clear as you intended in the beginning. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to let Kayla kind of introduce herself, a real quick introduction, and then I'll give you a little more information about myself as well. So Kayla, let us know a little bit about you and the Lunar Radiance Coaching.
Yeah, thanks for introducing the episode today. That was beautiful. Hello, everyone. My name is Kayla Winters, the other side of Radiance and Reality Coaching, and I'm the proud owner of the Lunar Radiance Wellness Center, where I am a life coach, yoga instructor, and sound healer. And my take on coaching stems from recognizing burnout and perfectionism, and be able to empower women to step into a place of self-exploration and self-love. And so I'm really excited to go into this topic today, because intentions versus what's actually being said and then what's being heard can absolutely completely derail a conversation. So this is going to be fun to talk about today. Joohong, do you want to let us know about you and Reality Switch Coaching?
Yes, and also Toga Eater said hi guys, so I want to shout out Toga Eater, our number one fan, been here since episode 0.
Literally.
But yes, so my name is Joohong Lang, and I run Reality Switch Coaching. And my philosophy is really just about making sure that we reframe what is going on in our relationships and our lives in a healthy way. Because I feel like there's a lot of things that we kind of learn or get modeled for us that aren't actually as helpful as we think they are. And so helping people shift their realities in order to get the desired outcome that they're actually looking for in a very intentional way. And I mainly work with couples who are looking to become more emotionally aware through their communication and all of that good stuff. Yeah, that's a little bit about me. And real quick, this is something we always do on the show, is we set our intentions for the training, or maybe just for the day, whatever it is. So Kayla, I will let you share, what is your intention for this? This is perfect. Intentions for intention conversation.
Intentions for intentions, which is so funny. We'll see if you guys will hear our intentions throughout this.
True. Yes. Yes. Keep us on our toes.
But I
Keep us
think
accountable.
it's great to start with, like, where are we coming from? So my big intention for this is to really be able to provide tools and reflect on not just like coming from a place of like safety and everything shiny, but actually coming from the place of like, this is not a great conversation. This is derailed. This feels gross. Because I think that that's really where things get extra messy when it comes to communication. So my big intention today is to uncomfortably reflect on those times where I've been in that position and talk about ways that I could have done better. So yeah. That's my intention today. How about you, Joohong?
I love the uncomfortably call this out and figure it out for myself.
Oh no, so uncomfortable.
I would say that my intention for this one is to make sure that as we go through this conversation that we really make sure that we can highlight one, how the other person, like kind of knowing how the other person is taking or not taking what we're trying to say, but then also balancing it with how are we just like trying to shove this information down their throat, or are we actually having a conversation? So really helping to kind of see the difference between that, and then also just making sure that we have a balanced, just overall like conversation. Well, that people will have a balanced conversation. Like obviously, yes, we will have a balanced conversation, but making sure that we teach everyone who's listening, and everybody who's watching right now how to have that balanced conversation by checking in with the other person and then also with ourselves. So yeah, that
Beautiful.
would be my intention.
Beautiful. I love
And
that.
with that, we're going to go into our talking points. Unless Kayla, is there anything else you want to add real quick?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I'm just excited to jump in
Okay.
and
All
get into
right.
the nitty-gritty. I'm putting
Perfect.
myself on blast today, so that's gonna be fun.
I think every conversation we have is like putting ourselves on
That's
blast,
true.
like all
In
the
its
time.
own way, you know?
We are just, we're all human and we all have these flaws. Like, it's just like how much I feel like of these flaws do we have at any given time? Like, sometimes, man, I'm the master of intention. And then sometimes I just like, man, I totally miss the mark and totally get lost in it.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like, yeah, we're all human. We're all just here on this journey together. So,
It's like a
um,
process, and
yeah,
the more that I feel like, are able to reflect in, like, a loving way, I think the better we're able to do moving forward. So,
I
easier
agree.
said than done in regards to getting feedback, right?
Well, and doing it in a loving way, I think that's like the key
Yeah.
part, like reflecting, but then doing it in that loving way where we're not like just getting into ourselves and just being like, oh my gosh, I totally messed that conversation up. I'm the worst person ever. I'll never talk to anybody ever again. Um, so sometimes it can
Which
feel that
can
way for
definitely
sure.
be kind of a part of the journey at times, depending on where you're at.
True. True, true, true. All right. So I know how excited you are. I'm going to let you actually start us off with whichever
Cool.
talking point you want to start with.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about first?
Yeah. So the first talking point I want to talk about is, and I feel like we've been like foreshadowing this from the beginning of this, is the difference between impact and intention, and recognizing that from the beginning. And this is actually like a hill that previously, and maybe
Okay.
still, that I like to die on, in the sense of like, well, that wasn't my intention.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't my intention, or like, I didn't mean to hurt you in that way. Right. And especially, if I'm being super frank, as a life coach, when someone comes back with like that hard feedback of like, well, that invalidated me or that dismissed me, it
Yeah.
feels like an even bigger kick to the gut, because I'm like, how do I not have this down? Right. Well, let's take a quick
Okay.
minute to stop the shame spiral. Let's take a quick
Yes.
minute to invite in love and care, and remind ourselves that that's not really the point. What we're looking for, intention is absolutely so important, but it's really the impact at the end of the day that we're looking for when it comes to the communication and the conversations that we're having. And it does not get you anywhere if you just die on that hill saying, well, that wasn't my intention. And the other person on the other side is like, well, you missed it. They might not be saying that exactly. They might be saying, well, you did hurt me, right? It is not helpful at all. And ultimately, the listener really gets to decide the impact. And that can feel
Mhm.
really, really hard to swallow at times, because you're like, I worked so hard on holding space. I worked so hard on biting my tongue, especially if it
Yeah.
is something that you've been working on too. That wasn't my
Mm,
intention. But if there's a gap, there's a gap. And you getting defensive about it is just going to make that gap even wider. So, really coming back to
mm,
recognizing what your intention was. And I think that there's nothing wrong with sharing that intention and saying, like, hey, that wasn't my intention. But I think that that needs to be followed with, so how can we get back to a place that feels safe? How can we get back to a place that feels productive and isn't continuing to create more and more harm in this situation? And I feel
yes.
like oftentimes too, in communication, especially vulnerable communication, hard communication, where, you feel split open, the minute that you get a tit, you love to get a tap back, right? And then it kind of becomes this whole like tit tat back and forth, which again,
Mm,
okay, so what impact are we looking to make here? To just be like, we hate this, we suck at communicating? Or do we want to be able to get to a place where this is the impact that we want is maybe creating space for care or allowing yourself to maybe reframe, right?
mm,
And again, this is way easier said than done. I literally, like on Thanksgiving, nothing like the holidays to bring out complicated communication, right? Having had gotten hard feedback from a loved one, and I did not handle it well because I was
mm.
hurt. And then I got that feedback, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. Or like, I don't have the capacity, like my tank for empathy is empty right now.
Mhm,
But I think one way that I wish that if I could like go back and rewrite that would be, I hear that you're sharing that you felt unappreciated or disrespected or whatever that is. Is that right? They can say like, yeah, right?
mhm,
That's like a good check-in point too. I want to acknowledge that hurt and I'm sorry, but right now I don't have the capacity to offer a resolution or to get there right now. Can we
hmm,
come back to this at a different time? Can we
yeah,
put on a band-aid on this situation as opposed to trying to do surgery on this wound?
hmm,
Till we can get to a place where I have capacity to do so.
yeah. That's
That's honestly how
interesting
I
that you
wish I responded. Didn't do that.
Well, you will next time in the
I will
future,
do I'm not even gonna give
'cause
myself saying that I'm gonna do it, like, well next time, but, like, I will at least I've now reflected on, like, that's how I want to handle these in the future of, like, when I can feel like I don't have the capacity to, like, heal the situation or
yeah,
provide that resolution, or maybe I don't even want it. Because sometimes in those moments, once it starts getting tit for tat, sometimes you don't even want it, you just wanna fight, but is that really the impact that we're looking to make? Was that even that definitely was not a part of our intention. Not always, sometimes it is
true,
part of the
yeah.
intention. So, yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that, Joohong? Your thoughts on impact over intention?
It's really interesting because I feel like putting a Band-Aid on problems, and I myself definitely have done this where it has become very like demonized where it's like, well, you can't just put a Band-Aid on it and blah blah blah. Whether you no matter like what people are talking about, whether it's the economy, whether it's like social injustice, whether it's whatever, like we always say like no, Band-Aids are not enough. Like you need to actually solve the problem. You need to do the surgery, like you said, right? And
Mhm.
so I think to take this moment to like appreciate actually how much a band-aid can be very useful in that moment when it's, hey, I like you said, I don't have capacity right now to have this whole conversation, but let's talk. Well, and let's set up some time in the future to talk about it. That's
Right.
actually something that I did learn as a manager at Disney, where one of my bosses, he was like, you know what? I tell cast members that, look, I can give you 5 minutes now, or we can schedule a time, like actually schedule a time so we actually have it set. And I can give you maybe an hour then. And which one would you prefer? Because then it lets that person, like, very different from your situation where it's like a family
Sure.
member and they're like in your face, like, here they are.
Sure.
And I think, though, that that kind of can translate slightly to like that situation where it's like, hey, look, I'm sorry that I hurt you or whatever the case was. I'm sorry that there's pain here. Today is not the day, but can we pick this up tomorrow or something? And then having the conversation kind of no matter, I mean, maybe no matter what it is, because I feel like sometimes people get stuck in that, like, oh gosh, I'm not going to make the impact that I want. So I'm never going to have this conversation because it's never a good time to have that conversation because these conversations are usually very emotionally charged no matter when
Yes,
you talk about it.
absolutely.
But then, being able to at least one time, like, okay, let's just put this off a little bit. So I really like that you said that, and specifically that you used that band-aid metaphor because I think right now it's become very demonized. And like I said, again, I do it all the time as well, where I'm like, no, you can't just do a band-aid. We need to talk now. Um,
Mhm. Same. Like 100%. Like I have
yeah,
anxious attachment style. I'm like, we need to handle this right now. But is right now the best situation for that? Are we going to get the impact that we want?
yeah.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes I feel like often, especially when something's super heavy and emotionally charged, and you're like, I'm gonna battle it out right now. And then you start making rash, super emotionally charged decisions, saying things like, right, all of the things that come with being emotionally charged. A band-aid can be super helpful to say, like, here's my care that I can offer right now. I'm gonna come back to this. Right. And I think the reason
Yeah.
why it is like you were saying, like demonized or like not, especially coming from like someone who has anxious attachment style, like avoiding it is different than putting a band-aid and saying, I'm going to come back to this, or this is when we can handle this, or just like acknowledging, like, I'm going to come back to this. I care about this. It's just in this moment, this is what I can give. And I think that's super valid. In this moment, I have 5 minutes. I can handle this and it's not going to be my best self. Or would you like me being my best self, having the full time to truly be able to dive in?
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think too, when you set up that time and you schedule it, then you can make sure that as much as is in your control to make sure that the events leading up to that time you can kind of decompress or whatever. If there's other things going on, then you can kind of almost create that time as sacred time. Like, I, no matter what is going on in life, this time needs to be held for this specific person, for this
Yeah,
specific topic, or whatever the case is too, instead of
absolutely.
getting it just like bam, oh, here's the problem, here's the thing I've been holding on to forever, and I really want to bring it up now during the holiday season because now we're all here and you're stuck here, and I locked all the doors so you don't even think about trying to escape. My
Oh my
holiday season was
goodness.
not like that. Just, just
I was
let
gonna
everybody know
say,
I'm
uh,
safe, everything's fine, nobody's being
also, if
locked
it
anywhere.
was, I think that that's okay, but let's talk about it, at a different time when it
Yes.
feels safe.
Yeah, we can talk about it another time.
Man.
I think 100%, and this is something that, yeah, oh man, like with my mom, and I think just people in general, where they're always like, "Oh my, that wasn't my intention. That wasn't my intention." And I always bring up the phrase of like, "Oh, the road to hell is paved with good intentions." And
That's
I'm
a great
like,
one.
but the impact you make, that's what really matters, right? It's like your actions speak louder than your words. So then I tell people, look, if you really, really sorry, like stop telling me that you're sorry. Because even though your intention is to be sorry, the impact it's making right now, because your words have already shown me that you don't really care. It doesn't matter. Like, just be different, be better. That's how you're going to do it. Even if it's just a little bit better, like whatever, it's fine. But that's what's going to be the bigger impact. And the other thing that comes to mind is I always tell people, I'm like, well, okay, so if you want to talk about intention versus impact, and I'm like, well, Hitler wanted to just make Germany great again. Great intention. Wow, that's so good. He wanted to help his people feel, more inspired and whatever, and who knows, all the other things, right? But like, but would you say that his impact probably was not the greatest impact? Oh, well, that's different. Well, I mean, I don't know, right? Like intentions all across the board. Well, everyone had great intentions. Crusaders back in the days, I just want to spread my religion, whether it's through bloodshed or whatever.
Right.
Like, these intentions, the impacts that they're making, the actions they're taking for their intention, there's always a better way. You don't have to create every impact doesn't have to be like, all right, now we're in a battlefield and we're in a war zone and we have to get through this. Like sometimes, we can just say most, if not all the time, we can like have these wonderful conversations, and the impact to just be like, wow, I felt really heard, and then the other person gets a chance to feel heard too. Um, so yeah, this is a great bullet point.
It really is.
Hear it all the time. It's not my
Yeah,
intention. It wasn't my intention.
totally. I mean,
On the intention.
again, so guilty of that. 'Cause it is really hard to, again, get that feedback of like, well, your intention didn't go the way that you intended.
Yeah,
And it almost can sometimes feel like, well, your intention sucked. That's not true. The actions that came with it, or the way that it was interpreted, or the way that I heard it, because again, and I think this comes back to just like having compassion and empathy and understanding that everyone comes from their own journey with their own experiences. And no matter how you say anything, it's going to be interpreted not the way that you're interpreting it, because they're a whole nother person with a whole nother experience. And the sooner that we
true.
can recognize that and be like, well, it's not all about me. It's not all about how I'm receiving this information. It's actually really about how they're receiving that information and how they're able to comprehend. And that can be really hard to, to swallow that too. Cause then you're
Yeah.
like, I feel like it can then turn into like, so I've been selfish or I've been this. And yeah, maybe a little, maybe a lot. Maybe you just didn't realize. And again, you're doing your best, but now you know how to do better.
Yeah.
Now you have that self awareness. Amazing.
Yeah. And
Amazing.
I think too, actually, it's so funny because I think right now, like, our conversation is very focused on, like, look, like, fix your intention or fix your impact, like the actions you're taking right in the thing. And I think for then the other person, as the listener, as the person was trying to receive this message, I want to say that in my relationship, and my wife can chime in, but I want to say, like, in the beginning, we did kind of have that moment of like, well, where I would tell her, well, my intention isn't to like make your life miserable, or maybe she would tell me like something similar. And then the follow up conversation of like, okay, well, if that's what your intention is, then this is what I need you to do. Cause then that's how I'm going to feel the impact that you're looking for.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so, like, I think, yeah, I would say that, for the most part, and I'm curious what you think too on this part of it too, that communication, the burden of the communication really rests on the person sending the message more than the person receiving it, while like both parties still have a part to play in it. And, if you don't get the message or you're not understanding it, then you need to make that clear to the sender. But that as the sender, it's like, okay, well, if my intention is not getting across for whatever reason, or the other person's feeling an impact that I'm not intending for them to feel, then I need to look back at myself and go, okay, how do I need to change my communication because I'm not having the impact that I want?
Mhm.
Or very also maybe being very honest with the impact that you want, where it's like, well, my impact that I want isn't necessarily, I don't think, is to make this person cry and feel like crap,
Right.
but maybe that really is my impact that I'm looking for. And I want this person to feel the pain that I felt and to like
Mhm.
really. And so I think that too, like you have to be honest with your impact and your intention with yourself at the very least. And then being open to changing. You cannot just keep repeating the same thing over and over again
Mhm.
in the same style, in the same way that you've been communicating it for the last, I don't know how many times. And it's funny because now, oh my gosh, sorry, the ADD brain, now I'm thinking about all the times where like my parents growing up were always like, how many times have I told you this? And like, you're still not doing it, or you still whatever. And I'm like, now I'm thinking back and I'm like, dang, I wish I could have went back and been like, well, maybe you should explain it differently, or maybe you
Mhm.
should say it differently. And then I would be more receptive to it. Like, imagine like
Totally.
a 3-year-old me going like, well, you need to just do it different. You need to say it
Right.
differently. How dare you? So what are your thoughts on like the balance of communication? Like, who has the, I would say, burden, but like who does it really rest on, or if it does at all for you? And then just, I guess, just any other thoughts that you have. Like, what are your
I think it goes both ways. I think both people are responsible because if you don't speak up that you're not understanding or saying like this is how I'm interpreting it, then how is the person really able to change or adjust to do
yeah,
better? And if you do receive that feedback, then I think then you are responsible for making those changes or making adjustments or even just saying like I don't even know how to do that,
mm,
like, just being honest as to, like, where you're at with being able to communicate effectively, but if there is no feedback and then there's just icing out or whatever toxic ways we love to, like, move forward with, I would say the hurt feelings that we get from, communication that doesn't go well, I think can totally just sideline things.
mm.
Yeah. I want to jump into one of your notes, and I want to talk to you about the intentions drifting mid conversation and if listeners feel it instantly. Because I feel like we're kind of going into this
Drifting into it.
of, yeah, they just like randomly drift mid conversation.
Do they? Is it random? Okay. So yes, so one of the talking points is how our intentions drift mid conversation, or can drift, most likely drift, not all the time because we're not Siths, we don't deal in
Sure.
absolutes, but most of the time they usually do. And one thing that I've found is that one of the things that can really shift those emotions and then our intentions, because we are very emotional beings, whether we believe we are or not. But I feel like everyone has gotten angry at some point, so yes, you are an emotional being or felt hurt. And I feel like when you're having a conversation that is extremely emotionally charged, a very high stakes, like, it feels like everything is on the line, that there are like emotional landmines that you don't even know are out there. And that's like
Mhm.
when the person says something that you're not even expecting or responding to you in a way that you're not expecting. And then when they do it, you go, hell no. You did not just effing say that. Like, let me share. And then, like, when you're like, oh, cool, we're having a nice conversation. This is great. And then they bring up that one thing and you go, no,
Mhm.
we're not doing that. And so I think that's one thing. Another thing is that as the receiving party of a message, not the person who's caught up in like, oh, how am I going to say the things or whatever the case is, it's almost like as if you are a bullet train. And you don't even really know, like you kind of have a general destination, but you're moving so fast that like if some minute thing would change on the track, you would not really notice it. You probably would just like fly right by it. But as people watching, like as the bullet train is going by, they will notice these things, right? And I feel like the listener is kind of like that watcher, where it's just like your tone or something in the way your vocabulary, something changes in the way you're communicating, and they will pick on up on it like so fast. But you're so caught up in your own world and building it and really trying to get your message across, you don't even realize until it's like too late. And then they're like, what the heck? And then you realize, oh my gosh, there's actually no more track left. And then now the bullet train is just like flying into the ground. Like, and it's like, what the heck? And you won't even see it because you're so caught up in it. Because you're moving so fast in your thoughts and your emotions and everything. And it's just like building like a snowball. Um, Before you realize, oh my gosh, I've destroyed like 10 trees already because you're just such a big snowball. Um, and I think because perception is projection, and so the listener will then also project how they feel onto you as the person who's sending the message. And if they feel like they're being attacked, then they may feel like you feel like you're being attacked as well and then being defensive, but they won't really know themselves, right? Like I, as the receiver, might not understand that I'm projecting in that moment because I have not built this awareness yet. But because I feel like I'm being attacked and I have to get defensive, I feel like the other person's getting defensive because I'm projecting that onto them. And that's why they're being so angry and whatever, which might be the case, but that's probably also what is kind of going to happen. And then so then the listener is going to really feel that the other person is really just trying to kind of, I guess, like maybe get on their high horse or whatever the case is. Actually, I don't know. You've never been on that side of the conversation on either side. Really. And I like to say it's because I'm a Libra and that's why I get on a high horse, a lot of times because it's not my fault. It's
It's
just
not your
just
fault.
when I was born. So, it's not my intention. Just how
Love
I
that.
am. Just how
Perfect.
I am. So just deal. No. So, yeah, our intentions drifting mid conversations. And I think one way that I always tell people, like a practice to have, is anytime you feel anxious, angry, frustrated, any of those like unresourceful necessarily, like sometimes they're resourceful. I would say most of the time they're not resourceful for the kind of conversations we're having at this where it feels very high stakes, but objectively they're not really. Whenever you start to feel any of those like unresourceful things, check in with your body. Like take a second. Like even if you have to like pause the conversation, take a second to feel what is going on in your, like where does it in acting? We talked about this, like where does the emotion live in your body? And so like for me, I know that because I'm doing this outside of conversation too, so that way you can kind of just like reflect and be able to like really practice in that moment and not have to perform it. I notice that when I start to feel defensive, that my heartbeat will start to raise, like my hands will start to get kind of sweaty, I get really hot. And so anytime I'm having a conversation and if I feel like, oh my gosh, like my heart, like I can feel my heart is racing, like, oh, I feel like this adrenaline. I have to like, okay, let me take a deep breath, do my like box breathing real quick and then just chill out because I know I'm kind of getting into the cycle already. Or
Mhm.
hopefully I haven't been in it for very long and I'm catching it at the beginning of it. But that would be something I would say to like really help you out in the long run when you're having these conversations is to just know what your know what your triggers are, but know what is going on in your body. What is your body telling you and how is it trying
Mhm.
to communicate with you that, hey, you're kind of getting off the rails right now and like you need to like chill so that you
Yep.
can get back to your intention. Doing that outside of the conversation obviously is easier and one thing at a time. Don't try to like check in with
Mhm.
your whole body in that moment, right? Like little baby steps. little
Right.
baby steps. Like, okay, what is one thing you notice in your body that's happening right now when someone
Mhm.
is telling you, hey, you really hurt me? Whoa, okay. Like, wow, I have this like sinking feeling. Okay, interesting. Kind of going from my chest to my gut. Like, okay, interesting. And then okay, move on and have the conversation, whatever. And then check in with yourself, like, well, why did I feel that way? What's going on? Or what did I really feel in that moment? So that way you can catch it in those in the conversation, mid conversation. Um,
Mhm.
but what are your thoughts, Kayla, on like why do you think that intentions drift mid conversation? And then also, if you have anything like something you feel like has helped you or helped clients or people, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree that intentions can absolutely drift. And this is just so much easier said than actually action. So I just want to like first send lots of grace to anyone who's reflecting or again maybe feeling that shame spiral coming in. Let's cut that right here. We're all here to figure this out. And emotions really do. Like, I think your bullet train analogy was incredible because that's really like how it feels with emotions. Like, they have no chill and they just freaking go. They fire off real quick.
They leave the
And then
station
you're
and that's it. There's no stopping
like,
it.
oh my gosh, I just said that. And now I got to stand here being
Yeah.
like, for sure. Great. I love that for me. No, not actually. I think I first want to say that like when intentions drift, I think that there's the immediate shift because how you're moving and flowing through the conversation has changed and it is felt. And I just want to start off by saying that because it is an instant feeling. I think that both
Hmm.
people can tune into. And most of the time, it is not a good feeling, which leads to feelings of lack of safety. And then comes the big fat ego that jumps in and says, let me do what I can to protect how like perceived in this moment. Let me jump in here and take the reins. And then it's like a crazy clown that says like this bullet train, I'm the driver now. Step aside. I know what I'm doing. Talk about even like, and then you're just like, dang, like that bullet train's crazy. Cue the shame spiral, cue a bigger ego coming out, cue all these things that like I feel like we just start to become like our own worst enemy in these moments. And I really loved what you said about like coming back to your body and your nervous system and just trying to find that reset. Because no matter what, at that point, our intentions are gone and our impact is going to be trash if it isn't already, respectfully. It's not gonna go. You're not gonna get any result that your intentions were wanting to get at that point, especially with the clown drive-in, aka the ego. So your best solution at that point, I really feel like is coming back to that band-aid and taking accountability and being like, this conversation is terrible. My intention was this. I can feel that it feels yucky. And if you're the one listening, that's horrible. Again, just like if you're able to step into that, again, we know that our ego is driving at that point. It might be really hard, but just getting to a place, I feel like really for the conversation to pause or just end. So that way you can get to that place of safety. Because again, if this is something that's new for you, being able to balance and regulate and remove ego and all those things is so tricky to do like this. Along with all the other triggers, I loved what you said too about like the emotional landmine. So you have that going and then they add in something else and then it's like, heck no, right? Like just all the things. Again, it just can become so heavily stacked against yourself. Just stop. Just really stop. I think that there's nothing wrong with pausing an unhelpful conversation and stopping it in
Yeah.
its tracks, hitting that emergency brake, walking away, I think has so much value. And getting back to a regulated place, I think is really going to ultimately reduce the amount of harm and negative impact that these communications might be generating. And I think that also can come from the place of like the listener too. If you are looking at this person and you're like, this is going to shit. This is not working out. This is and maybe you know that they have better intentions than what is coming across or whatever it may be. Hopefully, we can invite in grace for that person and be like, I hear that your intention was this, and right now I'm experiencing this. Let's stop. Let's put a pause on this conversation. Let's come back to this. Let's have some time. Let's have some space. And again, as
Yeah.
someone who is anxious and wants to navigate these situations lots of times in the moment because I feel so uncomfortable that continuing without a resolution sounds so much worse. Like it's like instead of maybe waiting to see if surgery is okay, rather just like cut off the arm. Because I'm like, well, then it's just dealt with, right?
Yeah.
Okay, slow your roll, slow your roll. Again, let's get the clown ego out of the bullet train. Let's stop this bullet train and let's get to a place where you're able to slow down. So, yeah.
Yeah. Great. Before we get into the next talking point, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Um, and before we get to the next talking point, if anything so far has been helpful to you, please you just like put a one in the chat or something, or if there's something that really stuck out to you that maybe you want to talk more about, feel free to put that in the chat as well. We want to make sure that we are having conversations that are relevant to everybody here, that, you are getting something out of this, as is our goal, right? So if it's just, hey, look, I totally, yeah, this stuff makes sense, then just put a one in the chat. If there's anything else, then, feel free to add that stuff as well, for everybody here live with us. And then I'll let y'all do that. Also, just as a reminder for everybody on Twitch, there is a slight delay. So when you put in your message, we can see it live, but you won't see it on the stream until another like 3 minutes later, when we actually respond to it. So it's not that we're necessarily ignoring what you're writing. It just, there is a delay there. So I just want to let everybody know. So yes. And also remember, this is not where the conversation ends. Also, feel free to follow us on our social medias as well. That's usually where we'll post 2 posts like a week, with content from the stream, that you can also interact with there. If you have any questions, we also have like our email as well, that you can email us questions or topics you want to talk about. But yeah, as our little ad break, as we're like almost halfway through the stream already, it's crazy. This like 40 minutes has gone by so fast. I'm so blown away. It's like, what's going on? Also, Kayla, you're muted, just in case we didn't know, but you're muted. And then
Thanks.
yeah, and actually going from that last topic and transitioning into this new one is kind of like perfect. Because I would like to invite you to talk about the moment communication breaks, and when your identity gets threatened, which I feel like we've kind of talked already about a little bit. So I think it's like a perfect segue into this topic. If you can go ahead and take that one.
Oh yeah. Gosh, another one that I mean, I think these all really are interconnected, right? Like
Yeah.
the change of intentions, the break of the communication, the derailing that is happening where you think that you're on the tracks and you're flying off. And I feel like this is where things begin to get heated, can just really take a dark, twisted little turn, either within your brain and the actual conversation, so many things. And it really all stems from your beautiful little ego. um, yeah. Especially being someone who, so I'm a life coach, but I'm a recovering people pleaser and perfectionist. And so the ego can get bruised so quickly. And again, coming back to that whole, well, my intention was this. And then boom, enters the dismissive energy coming in hard. And I feel like the minute that you're able to submit ultimately to failure in the communication, the sooner that you're going to be able to have that opportunity for connection. And the minute that you're able to say, you know what, this is not going well.
Mm.
It completely removes all of the shields, the masks, everything that we are trying to withhold to no avail, unfortunately, can fall away and ultimately allow the true connected communication that I think most of the time, not always, is our intention and ultimately the impact that we want to have. And I really love this reframe that negative feedback is really just your ability to get more precise in your communication. So the more that you hear back from whoever it is that you're trying to communicate with,
Mm.
hey, this is how I see it, or I need this, or whatever it is, they're signaling to you, this is how you can better communicate with me. And then you're able to take that feedback and be able to hopefully act accordingly and get better and get to a stronger place of connection and communication with that person. Again, a lot easier said than done, but I think with starting with those things and being able to realize that that feedback isn't them taking shots at you, it isn't them trying to harm you, and that you don't need to let that fight or flight take over, and it really is just them wanting to feel more connected and more heard, then we can check our ego. Our ego loves to react, but with awareness, and that awareness that this negative feedback is actually our way to be precise, then it allows our awareness to respond, which is so beautiful to get to a place where you are able to respond as opposed to react. I think that's a lot of what we've been talking about today is like that those reactions love to take a hold and love to run the train, run the conversation, derail it. Let's get to a place where we can have aware communication that allows us to truly be able to respond in the way that our intentions and ultimately the impact that we want to have within the communication. Yeah. I think it's something else that is also really important. I think along with this, like recognizing that negative feedback is precision, it's also about being like ultimately curious. If you're hearing this disconnect and instead of meeting it with resistance or rejection, meet it with curiosity. Thanks so much for telling me that. Can you share how it felt on your end? Can you tell me what part impacted you the most? Can you tell me where that landed? Really creating space for check-in, which is another point that we're going to talk about later. But really having those check-in points turns it from a me versus you into truly finding understanding together.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts so far, Joohong?
I think a lot of times, I know you talked about the ego a lot, and I would also offer, I think sometimes we think it's our pride that's getting hurt, but I would say that, well, and I would say that I feel like when we really start to feel misunderstood, or we start to feel like, as the person sending the message, that like, well, that person's just not getting it or whatever, I would say that there's probably a deeper thought, a deeper feeling of hurt, pain, shame, guilt that ends up then coming out as like frustration or anger, which is usually facing more inward, but then it gets sent outward and we just take it out on the other person, because it's easier to mistreat someone else than to deal with all of our own stuff, is kind of what I would say on that. But otherwise, yeah, like I agree pretty much with everything you said on this. And I think, yeah, I like this, like a trigger line or whatever. You think you're clarifying, but you're not, but you're actually defending.
Yeah.
That, yeah, where we're like, no, like that's not what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. And it's like, look, all right, you don't have to get so defensive about it. I'm not being defensive. I'm just trying to help you understand. Like, okay, well, you being like this and like giving it this way is not helpful at all. Yeah, and this is definitely a trap I fall into pretty often, where I'm like, I'll catch myself having like trying to explain myself, and I'm like, no, I need to stop like just defending and just be like, look, okay, cool. Like, hey, that's how you felt, and I apologize for the impact I made, because that was not the impact I wanted. And moving
Right.
forward, this is what I'll try to do it this way, or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's hard when we feel like like we're being attacked. On either end.
Right. It is hard, especially like I'm taking this from the lens that you're having a hard conversation. And so there's already like those feelings, and then it's taken to another level with not being able to like communicate it in the way that you want it to. And I feel like that comes down to, and I think everybody needs to check themselves, whether you're being communicated to or the one communicating, like we need to practice repair, not perfection. And knowing that repair is connection, repair builds trust, and repair is ultimately like intimacy. And to really have the courage to repair and recognizing the power of that over having what you perceive as a perfect delivery or the perfect intentions or whatever,
Mm.
the perfect impact. Really coming back to, I mean, we're having conversation to ultimately find a resolution of something that needs to be changed, essentially, right? So the
Yeah.
courage to repair and really being able to take that as much as we can with grace.
Yeah. And I think even then with like repairing, like, well, how do you want to repair it? So like,
Mm-hmm.
some people are like, well, like, oh, I just want to just cut it off and just be done. That's how I repair it. That's how I fix it. Like,
Yeah, right.
okay, all right. If that's what you want, then be true to your intention and like and have that impact. And but if the intention of the impact is like, well, I want to fuse things together. I want us to be stronger together. Like, okay, then make sure that your actions and the words you're using, your tone all reflect
Mm-hmm.
that. And it doesn't feel like you're just trying to cut it off. So,
Oh
yes.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Past
great.
Kayla did her best. Past Kayla did her best.
Hey,
She
it's
she
always funny.
intended so hard. I can tell you that. She intended so hard.
Man, the intentions were strong.
The
They're so
intentions
strong.
were so strong. They
They're
were
so
so
strong.
deep. Yeah. And I think that is so powerful of reflecting again on what is the repair that you're looking to get out of this. And I think this even comes to like when someone's venting to you, for example, they and then you can take the moment to ask, like, how do you want me to support you in this moment? Because
Yeah.
oftentimes we like to provide the solution. We like to, be quick fix, cut it off, all these things, right? Well, maybe the repair was just to listen,
Yeah.
right? Maybe the repair that they needed or whatever is to get feedback. Maybe the repair is to start better healthy communication. So it does start with simply listening, right? Like, and seeing maybe where they're coming from too, or asking them what it is that they want their repair, what support they need, I think can really shift how you're able to better show up in a conversation.
Yeah. It's interesting because I remember listening to a talk or reading a book or something about the dangers of like venting.
Mm,
And what I get ultimately is that in my mind, it's like venting is useful to get the energy out, and it has to be followed up with some sort of lesson or learning or teaching or whatever the case is. Otherwise, it is just like, cool, now I feel better because I let it all out. But then because I'm not actually taking any action after that, because now I feel good. So like I don't need to talk about it anymore. Then now you're like you just end up back in that trap again, or it happens again, and then it keeps happening and over again. And then you're like, oh well, I'm just gonna go vent about it again. And then you're just like in this cycle of just, okay, yeah, you feel better, but then it happens again, and then you feel better, and then it happens again, because you're not learning anything after every like iteration of the thing. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, that makes so much sense. I think it's funny to think about like the good feeling. This makes me think about like our energy vampire conversation too, like the dumper, take us back to that. For those of you who don't recall, go check out our episode about the energy vampires. And I feel like that, yeah, that's just like the first thing that came to mind. I was just like, oh,
True,
those good
yeah.
old dumpers that just love to, but not actually find a solution and just get those endorphins from
That's so
releasing.
funny. That is so funny.
With that in mind, I think that like expression is so important. And also there's multiple ways to express yourself. So maybe find a different way. If you just need to like let it go in that moment, or maybe you're stuck, you're in the trap and you want to stay in the trap. I hope that works out for you. If you need a life coach, I know too. Let me know.
Let me know when you're done banging your head against the wall,
Yeah, let me
and
know
then we
when
can
you're
talk.
done
Yeah,
because I'd love to dive deeper. But yeah,
that's so
venting.
interesting. Yeah, then
Yeah.
the person on the other end of that, yeah, getting dumped on, and you're just like,
Yeah,
gosh, like,
totally. It's really unhelpful. I've never seen it from the perspective of like for the person venting, like even though I do get the good feelings from venting too, but like the cycle of it, because I like to find a solution normally. I don't just like vent to vent normally. I'm venting because I feel uncomfortable,
yeah,
but not having a solution doesn't make me and like just letting it out doesn't make me feel better. But it's interesting thinking about how someone who keeps getting the endorphins from it can get stuck in that because of the good feelings that come from it. It's just interesting.
yeah,
Never
and
thought
then
of it that
again,
way.
well, yeah, and then because right, like we've talked about before, where it's like, well, and then when you're in a good place, you're in your comfort zone now because you were at the bottom of it. but then
Yeah.
you let go of all of the stuff that was weighing you down. So now you're
Mhm.
like, oh, no, I feel good. I don't need to change. Everything's fine. It's okay. And then they go back and then they stay in that like terrible relationship or whatever. And then they always went to their friends. Oh my gosh, he did this again. Oh, she did this again. Like, oh, well, have you thought about like talking to them? No, it's fine. Cause I have you guys. Like, that's great. Oh, man, I love that. Yes, please continue dumping on me. I love it. I love a good dump.
That's so funny.
It's terrible.
So terrible.
It is crazy. I will say, like, how well, it's awesome how much of our previous conversations, like, everything really just like ties together. And now, like, after talking about these different topics, we're able to kind of like weave this, like, oh, this is how these all feed into each other. And like, this is how they're interconnected, like, this huge web of just like, of everything. That has been very interesting as we've kind of gone on this journey as well. Just like a little side note. But
Yeah.
yeah, very, very cool.
Super cool. We did that intentionally, right?
Yes, we did. Very intention. Everything with intention.
Right. Uh,
Always.
always.
So, with that,
Yeah.
do you have any final thoughts on that?
No, I don't right now. Do you have anything else you wanted to share with that?
N-
Because
no?
if not, I want to ask you, is that cool?
Yes, you can ask me questions.
About emotional honesty versus emotional manipulation, and how
Interesting.
does that impact communication and our intentions,
So,
contributing to the breakdown?
man, manipulation is such a fun word. I think it gets tossed around a lot, and manipulation is something that I think is very misunderstood because I think people just take any sort of persuasion or anything as manipulation. And I
Mhm.
always tell people like, well, me saying, "Hey, I want to go eat at this place" is technically then a manipulation. Like, well, I would prefer to eat here. That could be seen as a manipulation then. If we just take it as just any persuasion, which I feel like most people in the world just tend to do because it's the easier thing to do. It's like, "Oh, well, you're just being manipulative at any time you're being persuaded for anything." And I mean, people even talk about it like with sales things, like, well, why did you buy that? Oh man, that salesperson manipulated me. Oh, that person manipulated me. It's like, well, no, because at the end of the day, if you didn't really want to buy that thing, you would not have bought it. Now, did they open up some doors for you? Did they like help you realize the thing that you really wanted? Sure. Like, yes, they do that. But ultimately, if you didn't want to buy, you wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have whatever. Like, they teach salespeople that. And I think as consumers, we need to teach ourselves that, like, look, if you really didn't want to buy that thing at that store, then you would not have gone into that store to buy the thing at all to begin with. Because there's a lot of times I'm sure where we've all gone into maybe like a Costco or some sort of like mall or whatever, and someone goes, "Oh, hey, are you interested?" No, no, I'm good. Okay, well, see, there you go. Like, yes, you can always say no. One definition of manipulation that I've heard that I really enjoyed is like essentially manipulation is persuasion with the mal intent.
Mhm.
So with a negative intention, that would be a
Mhm.
manipulation. But if
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, you know what? Let's say, for instance, if you have a friend who's going through a terrible day, and you know that, well, hey, maybe if I get them to go do this thing, or like I just get them to come out, then they'll have like a better day. Like they will just kind of, it'll bring them out of that funk. Well, you trying to persuade that friend to go do that activity, would that be considered a manipulation or a persuasion? I think most people say, well, no, I'm just trying to persuade them to do the thing because it's better for them. Okay, well, the salesperson at the car lot also feels like, hey, you really want this car. Let me help you get to that point because you keep walking by it, you keep looking at it, you clearly want to buy it. Now let me just help you do that. Like, okay, well, then that's just a persuasion because they're just like trying to help you buy it. Just like as if your friends would give you recommendations on restaurants or different places. They're just persuading you to go to this place because they had an amazing experience that they think you will also enjoy. But now if I'm like, Kayla, like, I know, oh my gosh, you have that friend and you like absolutely hate them. You should just go and like TP their house. Like, just do it.
For
You know
sure.
you want to. Like, okay, maybe a little manipulative, like in that sense. So that's very like low stakes, very whatever, but kind of like it's the gist of it. Emotional honesty. So when I tell people about just like communicating like in general to each other, it's always I statements. It's never you made me feel this way. It's not you did this to me. It's I feel taken advantage of. And I think the thing that triggered it is when you did this. And I felt this way because of
Mm-hmm.
that. I feel like is emotional honesty, because I always tell people no one can argue with you about how you felt about a certain thing or what your reality was of that certain thing. Like nobody can argue that. At the end of the day, like your reality, whether for good or bad or whatever, resourceful, unresourceful, that is your thing. That is your world. Nobody can argue that. I mean, they could try, but like at the end of the day, it's your world. It's whatever you say it is your reality. And your feelings are definitely your feelings. No one can say, well, I don't think you really felt that. I mean, we might make inferences when like someone says, I'm fine. Are you fine? You don't sound like you're fine, right? But then it'll be up to that person still to say, like, no, I'm actually good. Oh, okay, go great. I feel like when you keep it that way and you're not actually like blaming the listener for how you feel, and it's just this is how I felt because this happened and you did this thing and now I feel this way. That's just it.
Yeah,
So I guess in a sense, like that person is still being held accountable for like the trigger event, but
absolutely.
not held accountable for like how I responded to it. Like, that's me. That's like a, "Hey, I didn't know that it was gonna trigger me that way," or whatever the case is, and so I think that can be a way that they're different. A lot of some people might try to, like, over explain maybe, like, how they're feeling, in order to kind of manage the other person's reactions to what they're saying. So if I'm like, well, Kayla, that made me feel really sad. And then you start to look like you feel really bad and guilty about it. And then I continue to go, and then it just made me feel like this and terrible. And I just like really start to like dig into the thing because I see that like it's making you feel worse and worse and more guilty. That would be like emotional manipulation. And like in that sense, I'm over explaining what it is that happened to me when I could have just probably left it at that and then seen, okay, you look at least like you are having some sort of remorse or something. And now let's just talk about that. That now I'm like, that would be like emotional honesty. And then emotional manipulation is now, oh, I got her. Now I'm going to make
Mm-hmm.
shit. Like, let's do,
Mm-hmm. For
or,
me,
good.
do you mind if I chime in?
Yes, it is.
For myself, as someone who loves to, again, be a perfectionist and all the things, I over explain to further validate why I'm right.
Oh, there you go.
And that is how I feel like manipulation can come about because I am providing every reason why your perception is wrong. And I have a whole PowerPoint slide, or not even slide, presentation on as to why this is the correct reason and why yours is not, without actually being able to listen, slow down, and hear the other person out. I just like steamroll with
Yeah.
every over explanation. I right, wrong, left, right, all the things. So that's how I kind of have in the past navigated that with, I feel like, emotional manipulation as opposed to honesty. I feel like honesty, I don't know, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I feel like honesty is direct and clear and concise.
Yeah.
And I think the more that things are, I think when there starts to become twisting, changing, over expanding, all the things, that's where I feel like manipulation comes into play. As to maybe you don't want the person to feel as bad, or maybe you want them to feel extra bad, or whatever it might be. But I think the minute that you start to try to conceal or prove otherwise than like what is might be black and white, again, I feel like that becomes manipulation as opposed to honesty. And I think it even like, again, my intention is not for you to be hurt, but my impact is that I can't be wrong, or my impact is that I would rather be right and harmful than wrong and healing, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, those are some thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think kind of to go off of that, I would say like emotional honesty is very it is very just like raw and clear in that way where it is just like someone could go on a rant, but it'd still be very emotionally honest of like, here are this is why I
Mhm.
feel this way, or here's
Sure.
how I feel, and here's why I think I feel this way. And just it is just happening and it's just going. Whereas emotional manipulation is more calculated,
Yes.
more depending on how you react. I may say something different because I remember when a time, and I do usually like, go always go back to like my relationship because it is probably it is the most growth I've had. It's the most painful things I've had. It's the most everything.
Mhm.
And I have this kind of belief or idea, right? Like most men people do of like, oh, I have to have it all together. I have to be that strong foundation. I have to whatever, all those things. And so even in moments where I might feel like scared or I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going to happen, or, something might make me sad or make me feel like whatever, just like, let's say just sad, just like really depressed. And I'm just like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily share that with my wife. I mean, I didn't. And now I do. Like, we're very open about it because, like, now, she's made it clear, like, that's something that she wants to hear more of. And I'm
Mhm.
like, well, I don't want to spend our days talking about how sad I am because it's fine. We can just move it on and let's just have like good times. I remember that one of the conversations we had, I was just like going off and I was just like, well, I don't tell you about this, but this is how I feel about this, and this is what it is, and this is how I feel about this, and that, and this, and that. And while it was like a monologue of just me just talking about all these things, it was just like nothing was really, yeah, in the moment I'm like thinking like, well, how do I want to say this to make sure my intentions and my words match to have the impact? But I'm not necessarily worried about the impact because I'm just like saying my truth. Like this is
Mhm.
just what it is.
Mhm.
I think that's where that raw feeling of just like this is just what it is versus me going, well, I felt really sad about this, like listening for what she's gonna say, like and how she's gonna say it, and now I'm gonna respond. Like this is just no, this is how I feel.
Mhm.
So that I think in a nutshell, this is kind of how emotional honesty versus emotional manipulation, how I think about it, how it's come up in my life, how
Mhm.
I've seen it. And I think the greatest defense against emotional manipulation would be to have strong boundaries. And I think when you might start to feel or see or hear someone blaming you for the way they feel, instead of just them explaining, this is how I feel, this is why I think I feel this way. And instead, it's like you're hearing things like, well, you did this and you did, unless you like physically, I feel like did something to them where like, okay, well, clearly it was you because you are this physical force now, instead of just like maybe you said something or whatever, which a little bit of a gray area, but I think having like clear boundaries and what I always like to say, like getting a receipt, because I think that's always gonna be the best way to like reset and check in. Which I mean, we can actually just start kind of going into that next of just like failing if you don't check in. But like
Mm.
getting a receipt, I always talk about it. It's just something that's so simple where it's just, hey, and you brought it up already. Like this is what I'm getting. Like that you feel that the reason you're sad all the time is because of my thing or because I did this. Is that true? And then that just like gives them a chance to then like you kind of get to, I guess, like change the intention of maybe the emotional context or the emotional things that are going on in the conversation, and now you can like, okay, now let's take this and make it more resourceful. It's like, okay, are you saying that when I do this it makes you really sad?
Mm.
Yes. Okay, cool, great. Like what would you prefer me to do? Like that's how that conversation would play out. I
Yeah.
but
Hearing Do you mind
yeah,
if I jump in?
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, hearing you say how to combat emotional manipulation, I would say the best thing that you can do to combat that is emotional honesty. Because emotional manipulation really is just like this facade. And I feel like the more honesty that enters the chat, enters the room, the more that manipulation is going to begin to crumble. And Yeah, so that's just, like, my 2 cents on that of how the more that you're able to show up authentically, even if you know that this person is a manipulator or whatever, and it might feel counteractive, like, you gotta guard yourself, but then that's your own, like, emotional manipulation, right? Because 'Cause you're,
Yeah.
like, guarding. The more that you're able to tap into your emotional honesty, I feel like is just going to call for the other person in the conversation to step up to that. And if not, then like, again, it is going to crumble. But at least I think you get to know that you spoke your truth and you spoke honestly, whether or not they were able to show up in the same way. And again, easier said than done. We already talked about how emotionally triggering all of this can be. And then adding in your truth in there can feel even scarier.
Yeah.
But also like how beautiful that can lead to further connection and I think truly like repair for a conversation that we do want there to be repair. It really does call forward for emotional honesty. Yeah. Do you have any
Wonderful.
thoughts on that before we move to our next talking point?
No, I feel good. And
Sweet.
I think it's definitely time to talk about how you can communicate perfectly and still fail if you don't check in.
You know, when I was thinking about this of like if you don't check in, like your communication is destined for failure. Like there's just no going about that. And I was like, imagine going to a restaurant and your waiter brings out your food and then does not come back until the end with the check and is like, "Well, I see that you ate your food. Must have been great. Here's the check. Don't forget to pay. Leave us 5 stars. See you next time." What? Could you imagine?
Well, it does happen actually pretty often,
It
yeah.
does actually happen, but let's say we're at a different situation, right? We're having a good dining experience. Often that looks like that person, the waiter or whoever is, you know, supporting you in the restaurant is asking, "How's your food tasting? How does that taste?" Right? And
Mhm.
imagine if you were like, this is actually whatever the situation needs. Can I get some salt or can I get more sauce or whatever the situation is, right? And they were like, "Are you kidding me? How dare you?" Or they just never came back with it. I'm sure people have had that situation too, where they just like the waiter just completely like whether they did it intentionally or not. Again, this comes back to intentions versus impact. And the impact was I didn't get what I asked for. And now I'm sad and I didn't have as good of an experience as I wanted, right? Like all of these things, like we need to take as advice into the ways that we communicate with checking in throughout the conversation. How can we go with like a full on word vomit, essentially? Like that's essentially what it is if you think that like if you're communicating without checking in. You're just word vomiting on someone and being like, "So you got all that right? Great. Do it different." Yeah, that's totally gonna work. Well, let's go into some examples of checkpoints. Or ways that you can check in on your communication. So you shared XYZ. You can literally be like, how is this landing for you? Are we still on the same page? Did what I said match what I meant? Is that making sense for you? What did you hear me say? What did you get from that? I feel like it's really great ways for them to be able to clarify what it is that they heard. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's funny. I've talked about kind of like when we ask questions like, hey, like, oh, do you understand what I'm saying? It's very easy to say yes because anyone could have any understanding of what somebody says, right? And so
Yeah.
it's like, that's why I really like the giving a receipt because it's like, what did you understand from what I said? Like, what do you think I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
And then cool, so, like, give me a receipt on that. Like, okay, well, I think you're saying that, like, blah, 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 whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, so that isn't what I was trying to say. And, then that's great because it gives you time to reflect as the sender, go, okay, wait, so that didn't land. Okay, what did I want to say? Okay, this is the message I want to send. Okay, so this is actually what I mean. What do you get from that? It sounds like this is what you're saying. Yes, that is actually what I meant. Okay, that makes sense. Or, well, if that's actually how you feel, then like this is how I feel. Okay, cool, great, perfect, whatever. But I think that just makes it very clear where it's like there's no room.
Yeah.
Like the more we can the more we can reduce the variables in a conversation and keep things very clear in the conversation, I feel like is what's going to really keep the check-ins very effective. And it kind of, I always, oh man, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day, and I was just like, it's almost like the Socratic method. It's like we need
Mm,
to define everything and how we're going to be using these words, so that way we can understand exactly when we actually are on the same page, because we're using the same words in the same way. Because I could say, well, I'm really hurt, but that could be very different from when you say that you're very hurt. And so
yep.
if I say I'm really hurt, then you're going to take it as, well, if I was really hurt, this is how I would feel. Not, oh, well, when Joohong is really hurt, this is how he feels. Right? Like initially it's going to be just focused on ourselves, because that's how we interact with the world, is we look at it from our lens. And it just naturally happens, right? So like you have to work
Right.
against that to like be more understanding and empathetic and going, oh my
Right.
gosh. Well, even not even empathetic, because even when people are empathetic, they're like, well, this is how I would feel in that situation.
Right.
So, like, I understand it in that way. And so, yeah, it's just always keeping things very clear and asking questions where, and I think like a lot of these are all like not necessarily yes or no questions, which is great. So, yeah, if I ask you, like, well, do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I understand.
Huh.
Okay, cool, great. Then we understand each other. Yeah, yeah, we understand each other. Oh, okay,
Don't
cool.
you love when that happens? And then but you, like, know already that they don't understand, and then you're
Yeah.
like, "How do I say you don't understand when you say you do?"
Yeah.
Talk about breaking down
Yes.
in a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I love that, like, don't be again, this calls, I feel like, forward emotional honesty and curiosity and to, like, truly speak your truth with more than yes and no or maybe.
Yeah. And curiosity to really understand how the other person sees it,
Mhm. Mhm.
and not for the intention of seeing how they messed it up, but always with how can I be better as a message sender,
Mm.
with having clear intentions and my messages and my impact match that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I feel like the more that you're able to like we're all complex humans, and I feel like the more that you're able to understand those complexities, the easier communication is going to become.
Yeah, and
Truly.
it's not that complex. Like the
Yeah.
framework is it's the same. It's just
Yeah.
different ways of doing it, and that's literally it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And figuring out what's the way that works for whoever that you're
Yeah.
communicating with. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
meeting them
agree.
where they're at.
Yes, and communicating with people, not at them or
Mhm.
to them. And I think that's really how you get that. It's just, well, let me understand your worldview of like this world, of this reality. How do you see it? Because clearly we look at it from two different ways.
Yeah.
Which is just natural. It's not a bad thing. It's always gonna be
No.
that way.
Like, our perception is what we know best.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's natural for us to try to relate through the knowledge that we have. So
Yep. 100%.
expand. I feel like by being curious and talking and getting to understand, you're just like furthering that expansion of knowledge. So,
Yes. And I think too, like a lot of couples, from what I've seen, like, one of the goals is that, oh my gosh, we don't even have to like say anything, and we just like get it. We just know each other so well. And while my wife and I do that, where we'll like have the same exact thought and like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. It doesn't happen all the time though. Like there are still things where like she might go a totally different way with it than I'm expecting. And I'm like, interesting. So like it's not just like a puzzle you figure it out once and then it's done.
mhm.
It's like it's always forever changing as you're growing and developing and, becoming a new person every day. Like that will always be a learning experience no matter what. But you have all the tools that you need. And if you have questions, then just ask them.
Mhm.
Just ask the other person,
Mhm.
how can I be a better communicator for you? Oh, well, yeah, if you could actually do this, or you do this thing that just like, oh man, I don't know, like, oh crazy, that wasn't my intention, but I'll make sure like, yeah, next time I'll do this to match the intention. Okay, cool, great, yeah, great, wonderful. And then that's it. That's like all you have to do. It's not some crazy mystical thing. You can literally just ask people, how can I best communicate with you? And that's it. Done. and then do it, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think also too, like, if this is new or if like the person that you're working with has never been able to say how they best need someone to communicate with them, I think also just being understanding that they might be figuring it out too. They might not know. They might have been raised with super emotionally immature parents. They might like right, we all have our defenses. We're learning and
Yeah.
growing. And so I think again, just like whoa, I remember you said this, but I'm getting this. Is that what you meant? Or just again, this comes back to just checking in, remembering it's, us versus the situation. How are we going to be able to move through this in a way that gets us to the impact that we want?
Yeah. I love that. And that's always a really great reminder that it's not us versus each other. It's us versus the situation. How are we going to fix the situation?
Mm-hmm.
Not how am I going to fix you? How I fix the other
Mm-hmm.
person? It's how do we fix the situation? How do we fix the communication
Yes.
so that we can communicate better? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
super curious if the chat has any thoughts on any of this, what you guys are thinking, what's coming up for you. If you have any things you want us to like workshop with you, we'd love to hear. You guys have like a or a communication breakdown that you I feel like nothing like the holidays to bring a communication breakdown,
It's true. True.
Yeah.
Or people who are like, well, I don't know, my family's actually really good. And it's like, oh, how do the conversations go? Well, we just don't talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good too.
Right.
Every time. I did do that this year. Um yeah, there's some things. I mean, people say like choose your battles too.
Mhm.
And thankfully it's like a situation where it doesn't really affect me very much. So I'm like, it's
Yeah.
not worth like the slight headache it could probably cause because it's not something that's like weighing me down every day where I'm like, oh gosh, this person might feel this way or this person might think this. Oh gosh, I have to like they're not living rent free in my mind. So it's like, oh, this person said this thing. Whatever. It's fine.
Mhm.
Um
Well, that sounds like a beautiful example of what we were talking about earlier about like you're not necessarily venting. You're welcome to vent in that situation, but like you have your solution for yourself
yeah.
of how you feel about it, which I
True,
think
yeah.
is like why it feels okay to like move forward
Yeah.
because you have your answer of how you are going to move forward with it.
Without dumping on anybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Is that everything?
Yeah.
And we did talk about everything.
Yeah, we did.
That's so exciting. That's so good. We're getting
I
so
did
good at
come
talking
up
about
with
these
like some
things.
scenarios if you wanted to,
I see them.
yeah, if you wanted to play around with those ones because I was like, ooh, that'll be fun.
So what is all right, so what are these scenarios? Walk me through it. Like what's supposed to happen?
So in these scenarios, I am going to communicate something to you and you can give your knee-jerk reaction. You can give your ego response and then you can give your connected response.
Okay. Oh, so I'm reading their feedback, ego response, and connection
Or
response?
okay, I guess sorry, it's
Or one
what
of
you
them?
said to them and then what they said to you,
Okay.
and you can say that with an ego response or a connection response.
Right, okay. So it's like person one, person two, person one, person two?
I think it's just person 1, person 2, and then person 1 has the ego and then the connection response.
Hmm.
If that makes sense?
Interesting. Yeah. I'm down to try. Are we gonna just break this down, the scenario?
Yeah,
How
we
does it work
can.
in your mind? Well, how do we do this in your mind?
Yeah, how about I'll just take it on and then we can
Cool.
go from there.
Cool. All right.
Is
Sounds
that
good.
cool?
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it. Okay.
So we're going to do some scenarios with talking about communication. There's going to be a communication breakdown here. Essentially, what we're talking about is the point in the communication where the breakdown's happening. And we have two ways to respond to this. And the first is the ego response, and the second is the connection response. So we're really leaning towards that connection response that's going to allow for emotional honesty, that's going to lead to the repair that we've been talking about today. That ego response is that emotional overdrive response that whether or not there's truth to it might be including some emotional manipulation, all the things. It essentially leads to further breakdown, regardless truth or not. So I'm gonna start with number 6. How about this? I'll read the first one and then you'll just say the second one and then I'll give you my ego and connection response. Is that cool?
Yeah. I'm actually more curious like what you would actually say.
What I would actually say? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh wait, so wait, since this is what it is, should I start and then you give me what response you would give? Because of just what it says. Like I think that might be kind of actually funny.
Sure.
All right. So I'll do the what you say, and then you give me your actual response. Yeah, because I'm
Sounds
curious.
good. And then you'll give the ego response and connection response to that.
Yeah. I'll be the toxic one, and you give me the like.
Like
This
I'm
is the
actually
life coach. This is the like how you should do it.
Yeah,
or what you're aiming for.
What I'm aiming for from hearing that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is like already. It's funny because this one's called like the triggered reaction fight, and I already feel triggered.
Remember, this is just a scenario. I don't necessarily actually believe this.
So this is where I can go. I am safe. I'm not being threatened. Everything's okay. I can be imperfect right now. Okay, cool.
Actually, okay, sorry. I want to take it one more time. Can you give like a terrible, like a very triggered like response then? And then
you're gonna respond to me, right?
Yeah, I'll respond to you.
Okay,
Let's just have this conversation.
Let's do it. So Joohong and I are having some communication right now. It's about to break. Action.
You're acting just like your mom.
My first reaction is, are you kidding me? It's in the body. I'm feeling that heavy in my heart. I cannot believe that you would go there.
Well, it's true. You're literally acting that way right now.
I'm out the door. I ain't even here anymore.
By the way, this is the like how you don't want to have this conversation.
I'm out the door. I'm not here anymore. Yeah, I walked away. I'm probably now on the phone with someone heavily venting about this.
No.
Yeah, probably losing my mind, shaking. Yeah.
Has this ever happened to you?
No.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said this to my wife.
Yeah.
Well, I have, but not in like that way. Not in this way. Like okay, calm down. I already feel the judgment.
I'm sorry.
Look, okay,
With love. Break it down for us.
It's not necessarily like this. It's more of like, well, I see where you get. Okay, you know what? There's no way for me to say this.
Okay,
but it's like nice,
okay.
Where
totally,
like she wants to avoid being like her mom in certain things, right?
Sure.
So then I'll be like, she might have a behavior, and I'll just like kind of point it out, and I'll be like, hey, this behavior is like kind of similar, maybe to like how your mom would handle this. Like, gosh, that sounds terrible. I don't know. I feel like I don't do it.
No, but this is like, this is good we're talking about this because I think that this is like not an uncommon, like literally earlier I was like talking with Ethan, my partner, about like, I was like, I respond the way that I do because I grew up with this person, my mom, making me jump through certain hoops to communicate with me, essentially like reading between the lines. And so I was trying to explain where I was coming from, Yeah. But I feel from what I hear you saying, cueing our thing. So let me know if I'm hearing you right. It sounds like you are almost being empathetic to, and how I see it is like, this is how she grew up. She's doing the best that she can with the tools that she had. And those tools are coming out, whether they're good tools or not.
Yeah, see, I'm just like highlighting, hey, look, this is just the thing. Just be aware.
This is that tool from that person.
Yeah. Kind of, yeah. Yeah, because it's definitely not, you're acting just like your mom. It's like,
right.
Hey, this feels this way. I just want to like make you aware just in case. But if that's not the case, then whatever. And normally she's like, yeah, I see that. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just letting you know because you said this is something you wanted to avoid. So I'm just helping you avoid it. But, I always tell her too, like, look, if it's ever a lot or you don't want to hear it, like, then just tell me. I'm like, okay, cool.
Totally.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. So you want to run it back and do the healthy version, the healthier version?
Sure. I mean, I think I would still respond in the same way, being like, but yeah, let's run it back.
Bebe, you're acting just like your mom right now.
Oof.
She's just looking at me like I'm dumb. Anyways.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Oh, okay. Then she threatened to kill me. Okay.
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay, well,
See,
that took a
that's why
turn.
I left in this hypothetical
Oh,
situation.
yeah, so that was yeah. Well, in that situation, I would have left, but like left the physical plane of existence.
Yeah.
Is what would have happened actually. Okay, let's try this again.
Yeah.
And then she commented on the YouTube. Wow. Okay, so
You're being a great sport.
all right, let's do this. Kayla, you're acting like your mom.
Why would you say that to me? What the heck? Are you kidding me?
Oh, my bad. I think yeah, I don't know why I said that, and I feel like it definitely struck something, and I my bad. I didn't mean to like. Even though I know it sounded like I was trying to trigger you right now,
Oh, you were.
I definitely
Don't say you were trying. You were.
I didn't mean to. My intention was not to trigger you, but clearly that's what happened. And in the future, would it be fair to say you wouldn't want me to bring that up again? Or is that something you actually would like to hear?
I feel like I'm already feeling attacked from what this original conversation was about. And it just felt like a low blow of something that I'm sensitive about.
Fair enough. I see your point. And I will do my best to not bring it up in the future. And I think what I'm really worried about is that you have this behavior and it is very frustrating for me. And I think I just noticed that it's something that your mom does, but I just kind of want to get away from feeling frustrated when this thing happens. So if we could just kind of talk about like what just happened, like before this conversation, I just would like to find some like common ground here so that we can, I don't know, just kind of like rewind and just figure out that specific behavior, whether it's related to your mom or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something, would that be cool?
I feel like for me, like putting myself in this situation, just to would you like feedback on your
Sure. I mean,
communication?
I'm also trying to like figure out like, okay, like how,
Sure.
like I first of all, I would not put myself in this situation. I would
You're
not have
like, I
said this.
wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even like this would have been such like I would have seen this landmine from like a million miles away, and I would have been like, avoid this. Don't even. I don't care if you have like a minesweeping tool. Like, don't even fucking go near it. Just abandon the battlefield and leave. That's it. You don't even jump in. Don't even think about it.
I also love you saying that after you literally like 3 minutes ago said that to your wife. I know you're joking. And then she says, wow, it's too late in the chat. Just adds to this
It's fine.
comedically.
I'll just,
None of
you
this is
know.
like dead serious, but I feel like if this actually came up in a conversation and it is something that is triggering and you say something triggering to someone, I feel like what comes with this is like really saying sorry.
Yeah. Did I
At
say I
least
was
for
sorry?
me, like I feel like I don't, and this is funny too, like that we're like live doing this. I don't necessarily remember you saying sorry.
Hold on. Can we have the refs look at the tape?
Yeah.
Can we do a replay on that? I'm pretty
But
sure.
you know what's so good about this? Like, regardless if you said sorry or not, like this is how real life communication goes.
It's true.
But there's no tapes to go back on it, right?
True.
So
Yeah.
I feel like this comes back to what are we looking to repair? And are you willing to drop the ego and just say sorry again?
You know, I said my bad, I think.
Oh, okay.
But not like I don't know if I said I was sorry. That's true.
Which,
Yeah.
and
But that is
again, we're
really
just role playing here. So it's
that
not
is
like you actually
interesting.
meant it.
But
Not
that
that
is
you
so
wouldn't say
cool.
sorry, but sometimes it really can
Yeah.
be like that simple, right? But because we're in the moment, like we're imperfect. And
Huh.
what I thought of saying is like, I feel like I would feel so much better in this situation with just being like, acknowledge that that was not like nice to say and that you're sorry. And sometimes like communication can be that simple. Again, this is where you can just check in and be like, because I feel like in this like script that it has in this example, it says like, can we rewind? For me, that makes me feel like there's no accountability.
Oh, like, hey, let's just forget this happened
Yeah, let's pretend
and
like,
start
well, what the
over.
hell? You just like did that and said something hella triggering to me. Can you like it for me at least it requires like accountability, like acknowledging what happened and then saying sorry. Can we can we try
Mm.
again? For me saying something like that, can we try again? I would like to do better. Like something like that, I feel like doesn't erase the past, but moves forward on a better foot. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's why in the scenario, I mean, my go-to is usually like, well, so what can I do moving forward that
Yeah.
would be better? Which essentially is kind of like where I was trying to go with it. Like, obviously, we would
Yeah,
be here like for
totally.
an hour. It would be like, okay, cool. Like, well, can we just go back and talk about that? But then
Mhm.
still apologizing for like even having gotten there in the first place. Because I know
Yeah.
that you do that where you'll be like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, can we take that back again? Because I didn't like. I don't know how exactly you word it, but something to the effect of like, I didn't show up how I wanted to in that moment. I apologize. Can we do that? But the key thing is that you do apologize before the rewind. So it's not like,
Mm.
you know what, let's just rewind that. Oh
Yeah,
no, no, no,
that was
no, 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 no.
uncomfortable.
No, you already stepped on the
Yeah.
landmine. Like
Right.
that's it. Your leg's gone. Like now we need to talk. You don't get to just grow your
I'm
leg back.
bleeding out over here and you just want to rewind?
Yeah. That's not how life
Yeah,
works.
right.
The damage is done, right?
Yes, yeah.
It
And it
is
was
really cool, yeah.
yeah, this is really cool, and I feel like too, as you were going through this, I, like, was finding myself being like, "Ooh, like, I can't even, like, really hear what you're saying because that, like, acknowledgement and apology didn't happen." And so I'm just like it's just
Yeah.
like, I'm not able to, like nor do I even wanna move forward because that hasn't happened, and so I just kind of am in that, like, defensive ego state,
Yeah.
right? Which is so funny. So that's why, like, I was like, "You might have said sorry, but, like, I didn't even hear it if you did," you know?
Yeah.
Which
And
I
then that's
think just
crazy because
speaks to and
yeah.
this isn't even, like, a real fight, guys. Like, this is just, like,
I almost
real
felt real
live
no, I'm just kidding.
Kayla's triggers right now
Well, you
from
were the
a
one who picked number
simulation.
6. You picked number 6. I was like, "Wow, okay."
Because for me, that's real. That's so real. If someone
Yeah.
says something like that, whoo, talk about the bullet train coming through, full
Yeah.
on.
I think what's crazy too, the cool thing is kind of like we actually got to see like you felt like I didn't apologize. In my mind, I had,
Mhm,
and I think if I was not the person I am today, then
mhm.
that conversation would have went, well, I did apologize. Like
Yep,
just because you didn't hear me doesn't mean I didn't do it.
yep.
But
Intention
now
over impact. Boom,
and
boom.
and then the gaslighting, like all that starts coming
Yep.
in. But like now, because of where I am now, like I am like, oh, well, actually, let me take a step back and let me think. Did I actually apologize? And it's
Mhm,
like, oh well, no, like, well, I said my bad, but I didn't actually apologize technically. I didn't say I'm sorry
mhm.
or I
Yeah.
apologize that we even got here and that I said that to you. Crazy, because then yeah, then you see those two sides and like and anyone can go back and actually watch the interaction
Listen to
and then
this.
really go back
See the
through it and go,
receipts.
my gosh, like facts, he didn't, like, or whatever,
Mhm.
or he did, but she still didn't hear it, or whatever, and like everyone
Totally.
would still look at this conversation and have totally different views on it,
Mhm.
even just as outsiders looking in.
Totally.
But yeah,
And,
all that
like
you just don't even, yeah,
right, and I also think what's, like, cool too is, like, you saying you're bad, it could be an apology to you.
yeah, right,
That could
yeah,
be your definition of an apology, right? And for me, that wasn't a definition of an apology. Right there is where there's, like, disconnection and where
yeah,
intention
yeah,
over impact can completely derail something.
yeah,
Boom, right? Like, cause you could die on that hill that that was your apology even, right? And I could
yeah.
die on the hill that, no, that wasn't, a whole
No
'nother
cap.
breakdown, and then that's not even, like, the original fight. We don't even know what the
Yeah,
original
not,
fight was. Now we've had,
no,
like, 3 just in all of that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. Communication is hard, you guys. Communication is hard,
yeah.
but not impossible.
Not
Not
impossible,
impossible.
and you can always ask questions, and I think that's where, like,
Mhm.
because like, literally after that, I could have asked, like, "Whoa, did I just trigger you right now?"
Yeah.
And, like, that could have been a way, like, there's so many different ways to go through this, and I think that's where, like, that intention becomes so important, and sticking to that intention and checking in with yourself and the other person on your intention, because that is the one thread that's gonna take you through it, so no matter what you say, as long as it does live with that intention all the way through, then you're going to be okay.
I don't know if I agree.
No, you don't agree?
No, I feel like what we've been saying all day is like intention is great, but the impact, like the
Yeah,
reality
yeah,
of
yeah.
that intention, I think that is the line that drives you completely through. Intention is an amazing starting place. It is a beautiful place to like be moving from. But like what is actually driving you is everything else, the words you say, your actions, your reactions, your responses, right?
Yeah, and that's what I mean by
And
like
yeah.
staying
Okay,
true
cool.
to your intention all the way through it.
Yeah,
Not just like,
totally.
"Oh, well, this is my intention." Like, no, like checking in with yourself, making sure that you are staying true to that intention because that will help you
Mhm.
find the words that you need to carry you through that
Absolutely.
conversation. Yeah,
And yeah, yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. And so
yeah, yeah.
you can stay true to that by checking in and recognizing what the
Correct.
impact is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
period. Cool.
yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no cap.
Thanks for clarifying. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah, of course. Well, I had to defend myself.
That's okay. There was a miscommunication and clarity is beautiful.
See? Yeah, there we go. And we did it,
Yeah,
and it was easy. It was
it
done.
was.
Crazy.
Do we want to do another one of these or
We have 6 minutes.
we do have 6
Let me
minutes.
see. Let me pick one. Well, these are pretty good.
A lot of these are heavy.
Ooh, that one's a little well, this one might be good. This is kind of lighter.
Okay. Which number are you looking at?
The "You hurt me and I'm telling you" fight.
Okay.
Do you wanna be the person who starts it, or do you
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's great. I'm definitely not sensitive about the things I wear and my outward appearance. Yeah, this is fine.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
That outfit is bold. Interesting choice for the live today.
Wow, that actually kind of hurt my feelings.
Why are you being so sensitive? I just thought I should tell you since like we're gonna be on the internet and stuff.
Wow, well, I'm feeling attacked. I'm gonna just mute you now.
You're like, and the live ends here. See you
And
next
that's it.
week.
All right, everybody. Goodbye. Done. Goodbye. See you later. Yeah.
Just want to say, if you're listening, Joohong looks really great in his black t-shirt today. And
It's not black. It's navy blue.
oh, sorry,
I'm
it
just
looks black
kidding.
for
I
me.
don't know. I,
I perceived it wrong.
it's fine. It's
Um,
okay.
okay, round 2.
Oof, okay.
How did it feel for you?
For me personally, I mean, I kind of like my outfit, like the way I look. It's like slightly a thing for me, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm very just like, I'm gonna just do what I want. Like I'll wear what I want.
Mhm.
But I think also like for me, because I'm very strict with boundaries. Like like if we were having this conversation in person, um, maybe like 1 or 2 more exchanges, and then I would be like, "Whatever, I'm over it, like, I'm done. Like,
Mm.
you have a good rest of your day. I'm leaving." Like, if it really like, for anything, like, if I'd had this conversation about something other than, like, my outfit, if it, like I don't know if you're like, "Wow, you're kinda ugly." Okay, well, that's kinda well, I wouldn't even say hurt my feelings, I'd probably be like, "Well, that's an interesting thing to say. What's going on?" But, um,
That would be
so
really crazy actually for someone to, like, come right out. Even though I'm sure crazy has happened though, so
I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so, whatever, to each
absolutely.
their own. Like, well,
Yeah.
maybe ugly to you, but I've been married for like 9 years, so despite my fashion. So yeah, I don't know, like it didn't, but I have like I have friends who like, I play games with, and there was a time recently where like one of them said something and it super triggered me. And like, I don't know
Mm.
why, like it's just like out of nowhere. And I was just kind of like, wow, like that actually kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And I actually just played it off. And I was just like,
Mm.
okay, well, and I actually did leave. Like I was like, okay, well, I'm done for the day. I'm gonna go to sleep. It was like at the end of the night. I was all right, well, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go to sleep, or I'm gonna go play with Andrea. Like I'm done. All right, well, you guys have a good one. All right, bye. And then he reached out afterwards and was like, hey, come on in, come back in, like, let's play. And I didn't respond. So for me, for me, I feel like I go like full like code red, like all right, everything shuts down, like okay, I'm done. And then later I did tell them, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, and I was like, look, honestly, like again, it's not you. Like we do joke like that with each other.
Uh-huh.
It's just for some reason that specific joke just like it really got me. And
Yeah.
I think this is where it came from, but I let him off the hook. I was like, "Hey, look, like, it's fine. Like, I appreciate the apology. It's not your fault. Like, I just have something clearly there still that I need to like work through." So again, that like emotional honesty versus emotional manipulation, where I could have been
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
wow, well, yeah, you should feel like shit. Like, how dare you? Like, well, that's
Mhm.
so fucked up that you would do that. Like, how I can be very sensitive sometimes. Like, yeah, because I mean, not everybody is supposed to know how you interact, but your good friends, I would say, should at least have an understanding of
Yeah.
like they know pretty much. And I do my best to like not be sarcastic because I do have a hard time taking it because I'm very self-critical. So I try not to be sarcastic and dish it out. And they kind of know, like, I can get a little bit like, oh, it does hurt and it'll sting me a bit. So they try not to, and it's like, and not to the point where they're walking around like on eggshells, but just that, we keep it kind of light or about other things, and nobody is like at the butt of a joke.
Sure.
So that's actually what I would have done in this situation. I would have been like, you know what? A few. I'm leaving.
You wouldn't have just said it. That actually kinda hurt my feelings. Peace out. It's funny because that was, like, my response, and the other one too was, like, I just, like, see red and I need to leave, like, bye.
Yeah. Okay.
And I feel like that just speaks to, like, at the beginning of the slide, we were talking about, like, putting a Band-Aid on it and not necessarily coming to, like, a resolution right then and there, and how
Yeah.
coming back to the communication later, like, led to a better result. I don't know if it would have been a better result for you, but it at least allowed you to, like, it sounds like, be emotionally honest with where you were at with the comment that was made,
Yeah. Well, and
instead
I
of just
think
blowing it off or being like, "Oh, it's whatever," you know?
yeah, I think time we're at time. Maybe we can talk about this another time, another time. But yeah, I think in this moment like having that like not right now, and I think that in itself is a boundary, right? So you kind of make it
Mhm.
clear to the other person like, okay, you can say that I'm sensitive, but right now we need to stop because I can't continue this conversation.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I
Yeah.
will like beat the crap out of you or something. I don't know. And so I think in that way putting the Band-Aid is like a boundary,
Yeah,
and people
totally.
will react to that and they'll go, "Oh, wow, you were like really serious then." Or they'll just be like, "Wow, you're just a drama queen or king or whatever." And then it's like, do
Mhm.
you want those people in your life? I want people who can like show up for me and like care for me and like understand me and not just go,
Mhm.
"You're just such a baby" or whatever. Like, no, like let's
Sure.
have this conversation. Like, you get triggered, I get triggered, it happens. Let's just be able to
Mhm.
have some emotional intelligence and awareness and talk about it and then respect each other. Like, oh my gosh, is that so hard to ask that we just respect each other? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I
so
feel like our topic for next week is gonna be Band-Aids versus walls when it comes to boundaries.
well, you get to decide. So whatever you want to talk about, how big of a band-aid, what's a
All the
brand of
things.
band-aid? Well, actually,
Yeah,
Band-Aid is a brand, right?
it
Band-Aid is a
is.
brand. So
Yeah, if you wanna sponsor
bandages.
us, we'd love that.
Yes, right. For when you have a conversation that you're not ready to have right in the moment, get a Band-Aid.
Get a Band-Aid.
That's terrible.
Love that.
Anyways.
As we are wrapping up today, thank you guys so much for tuning in, coming in, leaving a message in the chat, being a part of these conversations. Again, these not easy conversations, these challenging, self reflective conversations that we really love to have here at Radiance and Reality Coaching. Just a reminder, Joohong and I are both life coaches. So if you're interested in working one on one with us or connecting with us, please reach out to us. Our links are all over the place, wherever we're at, they're there. And make sure you guys follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, subscribe, engage. That really just helps supports us and getting this information out to more and more people and just ultimately growing our community. We love that you are a part of this family, and we just can't wait to have more and more. So help us with that. We will be here next Sunday from 1 to
Yeah.
3 p.m. question mark TBD. We're working out our schedule.
Shoot. Actually,
Maybe
next
not.
week we will be at a different time.
Sounds good. We'll be at a different
We'll be at a
time.
different time. But if you're listening
But
to the
we'll
podcast,
be eventually on here. We'll post about it. Again, it's such a great reason to follow us on Instagram and Facebook to see when we are going to be going live. And again, we're so grateful for you guys and can't wait for next week.
yeah. And also we have our podcast now. So if you want to listen to the podcast,
Yeah.
or if
Oh,
you're listening
yeah.
to it now,
Follow us on Spotify. And also give us 5 stars
yes.
and comment and all the things we want to hear from you guys. If you guys have questions for future lives or topics you want to hear, we want to hear from you. So let us know, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you next week. Oh, one more thing. The
Yeah.
book. It's also just a weekly reminder about our book that we're reading.
Yeah.
Here we go.
On the week before Christmas, which was originally planned for the
First, originally?
yes, 21st. We don't know yet
What
what
time?
the
But
plan is yet, but that is our book club day, and the book is Who Moved My Cheese. It is a fantastic, skinny little book. That is a really great book, I think, before the start of the new year and for us to dive in deep. So get your copy. And on that note, we will see you next week.
yeah. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.